Welcome to Iberia, I am Wolf, and today we'll talk about the year 272 BCE, and since I love Rome 2 Total War, I'll argue that 272 was a brilliant pick for the game's start date. But why is that? The year 272 was a time of great change and upheaval in the Mediterranean world. Several major powers were vying for dominance, and many of the conflicts and rivalries that shaped the ancient world were either beginning or reaching their climax. This makes 272 an incredible, exciting, and dynamic period to explore Rome 2 Total War. But what was happening exactly on this date around the Mediterranean? Well, one of the most significant events, and probably the elephant in the room, was the rise of Rome as a major power. By this point, Rome had already established itself as the dominant force in Italy, but it was now beginning to expand beyond its borders. The Pyrrhic War had just come to an end, and Rome was poised to begin its conquest of the Mediterranean. In 272 BCE, the Roman Republic was led by the consul Appius Claudius Caecus. He had just finished the construction of the Appian Way, a major road that connected Rome to the southern regions of Italy. This allowed for easier troop movements and enabled Rome to project its power beyond its immediate surroundings. At this time, Rome's main rival in the Mediterranean was Carthage, a city-state located in modern-day Tunisia. The two powers who had so far been in quite good terms would soon meet in Sicily, sparking the First Punic War. Tensions were about to escalate as Rome expanded into the wider Mediterranean. Carthage itself was a maritime power with a strong navy and a network of colonies and trade routes throughout the Mediterranean. It was led by the powerful Barcid dynasty, which included the famous Hannibal Barca. In 272 BCE, Carthage was in the process of consolidating its holdings in Spain, which it had recently conquered. In addition to its rivalry with Rome, Carthage was facing challenges from the Numidians, a group of Berber tribes located in modern-day Algeria and Tunisia. The Numidians were a constant thorn in Carthage's side, raiding its territory and threatening its borders, though there's very high potential for conflict. Meanwhile, the Greek city-states were also in a state of flux. The Hellenistic period had begun following the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BCE. The various kingdoms that had emerged from his empire were in a constant state of war and intrigue. In 272 BCE, the most powerful Hellenistic kingdoms were the Seleucids, who controlled much of the Near East, and the Ptolemies, who ruled Egypt. The Seleucids, ruled by Antiochus I, who had just recently come to power, were looking to expand their borders, and by 272, they went to war against the Ptolemies for control of modern-day Lebanon, Palestine, and Jordan. Macedon had just faced a civil war and saw itself coming to blows with the Illyrians. In Anatolia, the Pergamese got into conflict against the Galatians, and to the far east, the Bactrians had just broken away from the Seleucids and were about to campaign against the Parthians. In Greece itself, the most powerful city-states were Athens and Sparta, which had been bitter rivals since the Peloponnesian War in the 5th century BCE. By 272, they had lost most of their independence and were reduced to secondary players in the game of geopolitics. By 272 BCE, Pyrrhus led an attack on the Peloponnese to give the Spartan throne to Cleonymus, an exile with a claim to the Spartan throne. Overall, 272 BCE represents a transition period with many nations having gone some sort of transformation, either a succession, a revolution, or a war. And all the large players were looking to expand, with wars erupting soon after 272 BCE. Bactria versus Parthia, the Seleucids versus the Ptolemies, Epirus versus Greece, and finally, probably the most important of them all, Carthage versus Rome. This means that no matter which faction the player chooses, there is always a rival that they will face within the first turns of the game. And this rival is usually a powerful nation. Well, what do you think should be the start date of the next Rome title in the saga? Let me know in the comments below. I have been Wolf, stay wonderful, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.